Welcome to the Gtba prac, your final prac. And it's a combined class with PE442 and 6 and their Masters of Teaching CU661. Well, this prac puts it all together. This prac is sort of melding your learning about how to write lessons, how to write units of work, how to include and integrate assessment into your task, how to motivate and manage learners and get the best out of them. This prac is substantial, and I know you've heard that through the grapevine, but most students are very successful with that. This prac asks you to flip your concept of teaching around somewhat. Whereas you perhaps say, I'm the teacher, I'm organising the learning and I'm delivering to the students, and that's true, and it still remains to be true. But this prac asks you to turn it around and perhaps if you have a focus of the student. And if you put yourself in their shoes, and you're the student now, what would you want your teacher to know about you? What would you want them to do to help you learn and understand more? So, knowing your interests, knowing your preference about learning style, knowing how you can communicate this way better than that way, how you whether like small groups or like to work on your own or a mixture of both. How can they relate to you? What things would make learning come to life? Well, that's what this unit is about. This unit asks you to have what they call differentiated teaching practice, or you might have heard data-informed teaching practice. And that really puts a focus on understanding your students and their strengths, their weaknesses, and importantly, their differences. You have a variety of students. They're all individuals, but you have a massive variety in terms of levels of knowing, ways they have learning preferences, and what makes them tick. So this unit, with the Gtba as its capstone task, is a data-informed analytical investigation of your class. So whereas you might have said, here's my teaching, the whole class does this activity, the whole class does that activity, and so on, this time we're going to challenge that thinking. Yes, there'll be lots of times where the whole class is doing that, but it is, are you going to do the same sort of thing all the time? But no, we expect to have variety, because there's variety in the learning preferences and abilities of your students before you. So you also might have situations where you have choice, where some students are doing this activity, some students are doing a different activity, and maybe you're just working one-on-one with 2 or 3. There might be different levels of complexity in the learning happening at the same time. So instead of everyone doing the same worksheet, exercise, watching the same video, for example, they might be all doing different things. You are meeting the different learning needs of the individual students. And the first step of those, hence the name data-informed practice, is that you need to understand them in an academic sense alongside a personal sense. So this is what this unit's about. So let's journey on and open up a few of the key areas that are there. As per normal Moodle sites, we have the various tiles, and I'd like to highlight that we've got the 3 unit outlines that are there and the weekly schedule which I've opened up previously. And you notice that we have each week we'll have the topics, and notice differentiated instruction, data collection, differentiated planning, differentiation tools and teaching strategies, and so on, and then teaching strategies, putting it all together. But in weeks 1, 3, 5, and then 6 and following, we see that we have a Gtba focus. So half of the class will be focused on looking at the Gtba as an assessment instrument and going through samples of work and extracting what does it mean in terms of the various sections of the Gtba. And we'll go through that and scaffold that fully. We'll then go on prac here, and then after prac I strongly recommend you come back, because we'll come back together and everyone will bring all their data, bring all the things that they've done and all the planning that they've done, and we'll have a bit of a workshop, and your work, you're producing your own work, but perhaps it's collaborating with others, get to understand what is the Gtba asking you to do in terms of your produce in your report? What can you use in terms of your experience? And you'll gain understandings by listening on what other people have done. Your submission is for the GTBA, is 2 weeks after your prac has finished. And that's a mandated time, it cannot be extended. Your folio, your prep folio with mentor reports, etc., and it's a smaller folio this time. There's no lessons you've got to gather together or anything like that. You'll be 1 week post-prac. But notice here that we have a task 1. Now that task 1 is a new task to this unit, and it's a stepping stone task that you need to do. It bridges the GTPA, and it gives you really essential learnings and essential skills that will be tightly aligned with the GTPA. And so that's a bridge, and that's due before Easter. So that's our schedule that we're going to do. And the other one here that I'd like to highlight is the Gtba Planner. Now the Gtba Planner outlines what perhaps you might do in terms of collecting information or having particular lessons over the 5-week period. Those who are successful at the GTPA have an absolute clear understanding before they leave to go on PEP what they need to do, what they need to collect, what evidence they need to gather in terms of planning or their teaching strategy, and then what they'll need to gather together and collate to form part of the GTBA report. This here is some of the things that you'll do. Some things you'll do weekly, some things you'll do daily. And it'll go through, and here we've got data collections, initial data collections, and showcase lessons, and when you'll do it. Now, if you utilize that tool and have it pre-planned, this is what I'm going to do. Post-orientation, perhaps, or PEP orientation. It will vastly assist you in terms of the stress of the GTPA perhaps, but also the success in the assessment itself. The middle side has a number of things which are very standard and normal. Extra resources, we don't have a textbook, but there's some good resources that are there. The assessment information that is required here. This out here unpacks all the GTPA tools, templates that you'll need to do. And so that's a very useful one. And we'll go through that. This is your Turnitin links, Task 1, Task 2A, the folio from PEP, and Task 2B, the GTBA. And we're following from there, we'll have our GTBA sessions. We'll have a collection of videos that unpack each section of the GTBA, there are 5 of them, and the scoring rubric. And we'll go through each GTBA session here, and then we'll do the learning itself in terms of teaching, data collection and teaching strategies that we'll go through there. So those things are standard. Can I encourage you that to prioritize your attendance, whether it's on campus or online, and if you're online, that you prioritize your reading and review of information particular pertaining to our GTPA. We have those focus sessions, and because it's important, as I said, and I want to stress that you need to have a very clear understanding of what the GTPA is. It is a substantial piece of work, 5,000 words with insertions and annotations. So it's in the region of that 6,000 or 7,000 words that you need to do, and you need to produce this in 2 weeks from the end of your prac, and it must be submitted with no extensions to that in 2 weeks later. So it is a comprehensive unit. But I'm looking forward to working with you so that we actually will transform your teaching, and as the title suggests, to meet the learner needs. And I look forward to travelling with you this semester.